Hello, and welcome to Writer Rant, author advice in 5 minutes or less because I have to get back to writing and so do you. So, this week I'd like to talk a little bit about flashbacks. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago how flashbacks usually can really abruptly stop the momentum of a story, uh, but that doesn't mean they're all bad. Uh, you really have to be careful with flashbacks because a lot of times it's probably because it's lazy writing where you maybe started in the wrong spot. I mentioned that quite a few weeks ago too. And so when you're using flashbacks, you really got to think, how is this adding to the story? Because a lot of times, if you're switching back and forth between, oh, hey, here's stuff in the present and here's stuff that's in the past, uh, again, that kind of breaks the flow of the story. You almost have two stories kind of going along in parallel, and that can be confusing sometimes, especially when you do a long section in flashback and suddenly you jump back to the present. And you're like, well, wait a minute, where were we? What were we doing? And so, being careful with flashbacks is definitely something that you need to be aware of. Even more to the point where when you use a flashback, uh, you really need kind of a little bit of a transition. So if you're using a flashback, it shouldn't just be like out of nowhere, oh, hey, now we're going to be talking about something over here in the past. It should be kind of you reach this point in the plot where you really need a little bit of explanation of what happened beforehand, and in which case you go into a flashback. And a lot of times flashbacks are kind of at the end of a book or end of a story because everything leading up to it is like, okay, hey, here's all these things that are happening, and there's a lot of questions of stuff that happened before the start of the story. And so the flashback kind of goes and says, hey, here's all your answers that kind of were the starting conditions of the story to even get to the point where you had this climactic event. I know I used that in my first book, First Name Basis. Kind of at the end, it's like it kind of been, this one question about the main character. It's like, well, why is he doing this? What's his motivation? And he kind of hinted at it. Again, kind of the show don't tell element of it. And what really kind of sold it was going back and doing a flashback to say, okay, here, this is what happened with this character, and this is why he's acting this way. This is why he's on this journey to do this thing. So they're not bad. Flashbacks aren't bad. It's just a matter of how you use them. You definitely, like I was saying, you don't want to put it in the middle of an action sequence because suddenly it's like, oh, hey, wow, it's exciting. I really want to read what's happening next. And then you go backwards in time. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What? So, and I've seen that in certain books too. It's like, oh, we're right in the middle of this huge battle, and like interspersed, like paragraph by paragraph, there's little flashbacks. And that got a little annoying. And I'm sure other readers probably found it not the greatest use of a flashback. So anyways, that's my thoughts on flashbacks. Sometimes they're necessary. Oftentimes you can usually do it with a little bit of expositional explanation from the character themselves. Now, granted, that's more of a telling and not a showing. Anyways, tell me what you think about flashbacks. Are there any flashbacks that really annoy you, things, or even anything else that you've been reading that really kind of gets you wanting to do a rant about it? Leave a comment in the comments below, and maybe I'll get to it in the future. This has been Benjamin M. Weilert, and thank you for watching Writer Rant.